Hi, welcome to Life's Checkmark. Now is the time more than ever to check in. Don't let someone else check off your life. Today we have with us Nikki Gingrich. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay, good. All right. So Nikki is a spiritual teacher and life coach focusing on helping other hardworking mothers to to step up in their beautiful life. So I got the pleasure of meeting Nikki January. It was through a mutual friend, and we had a little chat. And she decided she wanted to come on and share some stuff of what she's been doing and helping others. Nikki, do you want to dive in a little bit deeper and share what you've been doing and what you do?
Sure, absolutely. So, as Jen said, I work with working moms, and I do that because I am a working mom myself. So I have two little ones. My oldest is 8. My youngest is going to be 6, and they are really the driving force between that has pushed me to go after things that I have wanted and to be able to work in a way that I want it and have the work-life balance that I want it. And if it weren't for them, I don't know if I would have pushed as hard, but it was becoming a mom that when I need to do something different with my life. This working full-time job, nights, evenings, weekends, it just wasn't working for me. And that sent me on basically a path of self-discovery, and I had to go deep within myself. I started a meditation practice. I started side hustles and businesses and just kind of started hustling and figuring out what else could I do, and looking at other opportunities that could open up for me. And that's when I found meditation and journaling and really connecting to my own intuition and gaining my own confidence to say I can live life the way I want to live it, and I can do it however I want to do that. And that's what I love to teach other people how to do. Teach other moms, other women to say, I'm going to do this the way I want to do it, and do it with complete and utter confidence because they have the belief in themselves.
Mm-hmm. That's good. And so we had the chance to set this up, and then we created the topic for limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
I think this is a really great topic that we can talk on. Um, would you like to just share what your thoughts are, or what a limiting belief is?
Absolutely. A limiting belief is anything that holds us back. It's anything that creates resistance to getting what we want in life.
Mhm.
And it's really simply a belief that somebody has told us or we learned early on in life that, things like money doesn't grow on trees, or life is really hard, or if you want something you have to work really hard for it, like all those things that we believe in. It's simply something we thought over and over and over again. That thought repeated over and over again eventually becomes a belief, and that's with anything. And the limiting beliefs are the ones that block us, the ones that stop us when we say, oh, I'm gonna go try this thing, or I want to go run a marathon, and you're like, who are you? You're not a runner, you can't go run a marathon.
Yeah.
That's a limiting belief because it stops you from taking that next step. And that's kind of a broad, very broad description of what a limiting belief is. And a lot of
Yeah.
times we don't always know that what they are or that we have them. A lot of times they live in our subconscious, so they're not super present to say, oh, I'm thinking this, that's what's holding me back. So a lot of times we have to dig and we have to go into our subconscious mind to actually reveal what they are to begin with.
Right. And so lot of this is coming. Get some feedback. Um, a lot of this is coming up from, but basically from your parents and stuff like that, right? I mean, that's how I see it sometimes for myself,
Yeah.
because there's limiting beliefs I find in myself too. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I would agree that it's coming from where basically how you're raised, and then would you agree with maybe media playing a role in that too and stuff, and advertisements and stuff kind of pushing you one way or another, and you see most of that throughout your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's things that we've heard from our parents, it's things we've heard from teachers or coaches or somebody. It's somebody or something of authority that has said something to us, and then we went, oh, and we hold on to that, and then we create that into a belief. So yeah, it's definitely society, culture, media. As a woman, it's a lot of, this is how you should look, this
Hmm.
is what your makeup should look like, this is what your body should look like, and if it doesn't look like that, then you're ugly and you're wrong. And therefore you will not be successful. So yeah, all of that stuff kind of comes into play that we see. So anything that can be seen as authority, bosses, like even as we get older, if we had a boss when we were in high school, or a boss right out of college, that something that really, or a very traumatic event. A traumatic event can also cause those limiting beliefs, and that will stick quicker than just something that was thought over and over again. If you have a big traumatic event in your life that has very high emotion attached to it, that's going to create an automatic belief in you, and that's going to be very quick and very automatic.
Right. It's going to hold you back from doing things that you want to do. Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I know we've been through this whole pandemic for it's been a year, I think now. Do you see that doing a lot of stuff as a limiting belief on a lot of people? Did you get that from anything?
I definitely can see this creating a lot of limiting beliefs as we start to have conversations now in some groups that I'm in and some places that I'm a part of, that, we went from meeting in person to meeting virtually, and you're starting to have the conversation of, what does that look like going back in person? And
Mhm.
after a year of living isolated, alone, going back in person is going to be very hard for a lot of people because we've gotten comfortable. We could have created beliefs that said, if I'm around people that don't wear masks, that means I'm going to get sick. And we've got to rewrite that. And that's just, it's the nature of what has happened, but it's going to happen. So as we kind of re-enter, as we call you don't want to say we're going back to normal, but it's going to be a new normal. We can't live in isolation forever. So as we ease back into what life is going to look like, and being together in person again, and having concerts and having meetings like that, there's going to be a lot of issues and things that people are going to have to work through, that could be, if they go too quickly, could be very traumatizing for them. That could cause a limiting belief on the back end, or they've created something over the last year that made them feel unsafe, and now they need to learn how to feel safe again.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And so to be a little bit different, I took a different approach back in October. I joined a networking meeting, and they were still meeting in person, with all the rules and stuff. But so that was like a thing for me to come out of my shell and start talking to people in person. And I agree with what you're saying, where it's going to take some time for people to get off of this, virtual stuff and go back in person and touch, handshakes and stuff like that, and smile and say hi to people. I could see that definitely being a big difference for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I would agree with you too. It would probably take some time for it to slowly get to where it should be, to where it used to be,
Oh,
yeah. I don't know if it's just going to be with the millennials and stuff that they might stick with something like this, but I could see them probably not going back as quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely something to think about, and being on some groups virtually, a lot of older people like this because they're
Yeah.
not driving an hour to meet, 5 people. Yeah, they're not driving an hour to meet 5 people, or if they're even going to be there. A lot of people say if they had appointments, they would cancel, and they're already on the road. Where you can have appointments like this, which is great. I mean, there's a lot of great things that came out from this. But yeah, I agree with the limiting beliefs through the pandemic. People feared that they lost their jobs. They might not get anything else again, or they might fear that they can't start something themselves. They become isolated.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it is, and I know you talk about this, is we've gotten comfortable. We've had a
Mhm.
year to get comfortable talking virtually to people and not going to meetings. So in order for us to switch that, we have to get uncomfortable again.
Yeah.
And if we're too comfortable, like, oh, it's easier to do this online. Well, just because it's easy doesn't mean we should do it. So there's definite value that's going to come out of this. A lot more remote working, a lot of less wasted time in meetings, but at the same time, we don't want to become too comfortable with the virtual setting, because then we're not growing. And
Mhm.
I know that's something you talk about. So there's so much kind of deep down in that as well too. So we don't want to get too comfortable in this space, because we want to make sure that we're continuing to grow as we expand back out of what whatever this is starting to look like.
Right. Right. And who would have thought they would have training and stuff for how to talk with a virtual group and stuff? You know, I mean, I know they had stuff prior to this, like how to speak with people and everything. And, so maybe that would become a big, I don't know, big promotion, whatever out there when we start going back. People need to learn how to communicate with other people again.
Yeah, we do.
So that should be something different. Just your thoughts. Do you have any ideas of how, or some ways you could say something to somebody to try to get rid of these limiting beliefs, or at least lessen them, and to try to move forward with whatever they're deciding to do in their life?
Yeah, I think the first step is recognizing the limiting belief. And as I said before, sometimes this is really hard because the limiting belief lives in our subconscious. So we don't always know that it's even stopping us. So the best way to know is if a limiting belief is stopping you is if there's something in your life that you want. A lot of times it's a job, it's money, it's a car. There's usually something you're like, gosh, I wish I wish I made more money. I wish I had this new car, or I wish I lived in a different house, or whatever you kind of say, I wish I had, or I wish I was doing, and you don't have it. So it's got to be something that you want to have, but that you don't have.
Mm-hmm.
I can guarantee you there's a limiting belief there that's stopping you. That's saying, I don't have this money because I don't believe I'm worthy of it. I don't believe I can have it. I believe it's going to take too much work to get it. So the first step is saying, what is something that I know that I want in my life? Like that deep down inside your gut, you're like, oh, I would just love to live life like this. And when you think about it, it gives you goosebumps, but you don't have it, and you don't have the inspiration to go after it. There's something there that's stopping you. So it really starts with saying, okay, what could it be that's stopping me? And there's a number of different ways you can go about really kind of digging down to the root of these. I'm a meditation teacher, so I will tell you first and foremost, meditation is an amazing way to tap into your subconscious mind. And it, in this world, it's, there's a critical factor that takes you from the conscious to the subconscious mind. And basically, you need to bypass that to get into your subconscious. So I can go into meditation, and when you go into those, and even if you don't meditate, if it's you're taking a shower and you're all of a sudden your thoughts are like going down a rabbit hole, and an inspirational idea comes to you, or something happens, you're like, gosh, I haven't thought about this person or that thing, or I got this idea, that you've tapped into your subconscious. You've quieted your conscious mind, and you've tapped into the subconscious, and those ideas are starting to come forward. So that's one really, really great way to do it, is to say, what's the thing that I want? And then just sit still and ask the question, what is stopping me from getting that thing? And just letting go, and just kind of seeing what comes forward, having a journal nearby, a book, something to write in, or someone to talk to really say what's going on. So that's the biggest and best way I can say is to tap into it. I definitely recommend reading or getting Mastin Kipp, Mastinkipp, his book. I can't think of the name of it, but if you Google him, it's Mastin Kipp. He has a 40-day book. He talks all about healing trauma. And I did his 40-day journey in his book back in August. And it helps you to unearth, you kind of go back to your childhood and you say, what did my parents say about this? What did I learn about this? And it helps you consciously tap into some past memories or some past things that you might have heard that have become limiting beliefs that you might not have even realized. I broke through a ton of things going through that 40-day journey. So I definitely recommend that. Is just becoming aware of it is step number one.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. And I'll have to agree with you with the like taking a shower or meditating too, where you kind of get in that place and things just pour out of you. That's a time when I hope I could sit down and write it all out. Why, but you can't stop. So I'll ask you a quick question with the meditation part. Is there a certain amount of time that you're looking for to, I guess, be lost in that space of meditating? However you want to word it. I mean, I try to do myself 10 to 15 minutes. Do you find a less time that's just needed, or if just curious what your thoughts are?
Yes, time, it doesn't matter. If you're new to meditation, I wouldn't jump into 15 minutes because you're not going to be used to kind of sitting still and I say quieting your mind, but
Hmm.
yet it's not always letting go of thoughts. It's slowing down. So definitely start small. I remember when my husband first started meditating, he would do 1 to 2 minutes at a time. And I think 10 to 15 minutes every single day is more than enough. I do somewhere between 10 to 15. I can't remember the last time I did 20 or 30. Actually, that's a lie. Today, I think I did 2 or 3 meditations just because I saw stuff actually showed up for me today. And I was seeing my own limiting beliefs coming in. So you're going to see limiting beliefs, but they're never going to end. You're always going to have more to work through. But as that showed up for me today, is I saw this something come up, and I went, oh, I think I need to let me go a little bit deeper. Let me do this work. Let me journal. I think I actually did 2 meditations today, not directly back to back. Like I meditated, I journaled, I did something else, and then I meditated again because I needed to let go of something that showed up for me today. So I was able to kind of recognize it, process it, and then let it go, all within maybe the span of 45 minutes. Simply because I've gone through this process before. So I'm like, normally I'd hold on to it. Sometimes I still hold on to it for days and weeks and months. And it's like, okay, now it's time to let it go. But there's no set amount of time. It's whatever you need. And knowing that every time you sit down to meditate, it's not going to look exactly the same. One day you might sit down and be like, gosh, I felt amazing. I got into my meditation right away. I got into that zone. And then the next day you might get in and think, oh my God, I couldn't shut my mind up. There was just too much going on. And knowing that that's totally normal and that's okay too. It's that daily practice of just doing it and seeing what happens and letting go of expectations of what's going to show up and what's going to come and just letting go of that control and just seeing what happens. So I think ideally working your way up, starting small, 1, 2, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and then working your way up to 10 to 15 and knowing you really don't need to go above 10 to 15 minutes unless you feel you need that extra time to just sit and be.
All right. Yeah. And for me, I started with an app and, slowly progressed, kind of like you said, it was a couple minutes here and there up to 10. And then now I switched over to a YouTube thing just because it's free and it's available, so I just jump on that. But yeah, I totally agree. Ease your mind and let it be what it is. There is a book I would recommend, Power of Now. And I did the audio part, so I didn't read it, but I like the audio because of how I guess it's the author that's talking. I don't really know, but that was a pretty good book. So you're present in the moment now. Now's the time to worry about everything.
Yeah,
And
that's yeah. I
yeah,
didn't read that one. My husband read it, so but yeah, I've heard that recommended over and over. It's hasn't been on my list yet, but I've heard it's very, very powerful. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if I could imagine reading that book, but the audio was definitely great.
He
So
said it was really hard to read.
I believe it.
There's
I
a
can
lot of
imagine.
information in it. Yeah. So
I can imagine. So limiting beliefs. I mean, I see fear as like a factor, like holding people back, and I guess that would be a big limiting belief that, people are afraid to move forward. There's something I picked up not too long ago where it's sometimes not afraid to move forward, but sometimes afraid of actually getting there and then being held accountable for it.
yeah.
And after I heard that, like that was like a bell rang. You know what I mean? Like that's perfect for me. That was perfect.
Yeah.
It's not real for for whatever I'm doing, I could do it, right? But then to be on the other side and have everybody look at me, then that's when you have to keep on producing, right? So what are you? I see you shaking your head and stuff. Do you agree with me there? Then that
Absolutely. That fear of success of I want this thing, but can I actually do it? Like because people lack the belief in themselves of saying, I say I want this thing, it'd be really cool and exciting, but then once I get there, now I have to do it and my butt's on the line and I can't go backwards. I have to keep showing up. And there's a lot of fear around that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's kind of like a fire, lights a fire for you. They keep on going. And it's, for me, it's been exciting for the past few months that I've been doing stuff. But, that's something I wanted to share too, because I think it's great that if people look at it in a different way, then they
Mhm.
shouldn't have the fear of holding them back,
Yeah.
for moving forward.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, yeah. So, I mean, you shared that one book that you had for 40 days. I think you mentioned that. Um, is there anything else that you would recommend that somebody would check into to try to limit their beliefs besides that book and meditation? Is there?
Absolutely. So there's something that I've heard about this, and I did it a little bit about 2 or 3 years ago, and kind of would do it when I need it. So have you ever heard of EFT, also known
I
as
have.
tap? Okay, so emotional freedom technique. It's something I dove into at the start of this year of 2021 because I knew I had limiting beliefs that were holding me back. And I've probably been doing an EFT or a tapping. And if you're not familiar, you essentially have something I'm now diving in. I've done it now, and now I've broken through a lot of limiting beliefs that I'm now learning about it so that I can teach it. But essentially, there's meridian points on the body, and it's very similar to acupuncture, where you tap on certain parts of your body and it helps. So here, and then the top of the head. And I can't explain it scientifically, but it does help to release, and it helps you to tap into that subconscious part of your mind. I like that a lot because meditation is fantastic, but sometimes when you've got anxiety, and a lot of times our limiting beliefs cause anxiety where there's literally energy moving through your body, and you just can't calm yourself down. The thought of sitting and doing a meditation is like, oh God, no way, there's no way you're going to get me to sit still right now. Especially if you're in a heightened state of some sort, you've got a lot of energy. So I have found tapping to be really helpful in those moments where my brain is overactive and a meditation isn't enough to quiet it down. I've gotten on the hamster wheel and I need to jump off the hamster wheel. Uh, so when I find that a tapping allows me to talk out loud. So you're talking out loud and you're saying things as you're moving through. You're acknowledging the limiting belief as you're tapping, and then you rewrite the limiting belief and you create a new one to say, I don't need to be afraid, like taking the fear of success. I don't need to be afraid of success because I know once I get there I'll be amazing. I know that I am worthy of this. So you start by acknowledging the fear or the limiting belief, and then you rewrite it, and you do that. It takes 5 to 10 minutes depending on who you're following or what you're doing, and you can do it as many times as you need to. And that's a really, really great actionable technique that you can follow. So for that, I follow Brad Yates, Bradyyates. He's got a ton, I want to say a million, I might be right, a million videos on YouTube on any topic that you could think of. The man started doing tapping videos back in like 2010, 2011. So I have done some of his videos from 10, 11 years ago.
Mhm.
They're still relevant. He's a lot younger in those videos, but it's really great content, and it's absolutely free because it's just out there on YouTube. So that's a really great technique. And if self hypnosis is one, it's not one that I've done limited amounts of self hypnosis, but again, I'm actually finishing up a class on self hypnosis because again, that's a really beautiful way to bypass to get to the subconscious mind and rewrite the belief. So essentially, you're going into a hypnosis and you're telling yourself what you want to replace that habit with or that belief, and you're literally rewriting it, and you're saying, I want to put this in my subconscious instead. That's why hypnosis works for smoking and weight loss, because it takes away the willpower, because a lot of times willpower isn't always enough, and if you want to get past the willpower, you've got to go to the subconscious and rewrite that belief from that part of your brain. So I know that was a lot of information, but
Oh,
EFT and self hypnosis are two really big things. And I'm hesitant to go and just go onto YouTube and do a self hypnosis. I want to know where I'm going and who I'm going. So that's why I'm learning it for myself, so I can record my own hypnosises and do it for myself. But EFT, definitely recommend Brad Yates, talking about worthiness, success, prosperity, calm and grounding. As a mom, I've used his one for calm and grounding at bedtime when I'm trying to wrangle my kids to go to bed at a decent hour. And that's a really heightened state of anxiety for me. I tried meditation in the evenings. at that time, and it doesn't calm me down. It actually makes it worse. So I found tapping to be hugely beneficial. And I think I only did it 2 or 3 times in the evenings. And I've noticed a significant difference in how I react and how I respond to my kids in the evenings. And so like I said, I think I only did the actual tapping 2 or 3 evenings. It doesn't mean I don't kind of have that freak out moment,
Sure.
but it's completely different just from those few times. So it's a very quick way to rewrite those beliefs and
Right.
change them. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. What kids don't drive parents crazy, you know?
Absolutely. That's their job. I think that's what they were put here to
Uh,
do.
Yeah. They're to make you become a better person. That's for
Yes.
sure. One way or another, you're going to figure it out. No, that's great. I remember hearing about EFT a long time ago. I probably tried it for a few days and then it just faded away. Uh, I would definitely look into that. I'll definitely look into that again myself.
Yeah.
And then obviously, if it's something you're going to do, you're going to want to track it and make sure you do it every day, or how often you need to. Because, like I said, it fell off for me, and I'm glad you brought it back up because I don't even know where I heard of it before, but it was probably several years ago. Yeah, no, that's great. That's awesome. I appreciate the resources you're sharing, and I'll make notes of this stuff and put it in the show notes and stuff.
Yeah.
So we all know that you're an entrepreneur now, and you're out there, working hard, stepping up stuff for hardworking mothers,
Mm-hmm.
and so you have limiting beliefs. I'm sure you still have some too. I always get them every once in a while. I mean, we're not real people if we're gonna say that we don't have them, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, exactly. So don't hide nothing. Just get over it. So, so what keeps you besides doing all that stuff? Is there something else, I guess, that might keep you in the right mindset of being an entrepreneur?
Yeah. It's surrounding myself with like-minded people like yourself and knowing that you have that support system, because if you're chasing the entrepreneurship, you've gotten the bug and you're surrounded by people who don't understand what you're doing. Entrepreneurship is so different than being an employee or even being like a manager or a boss or a leader in a company. It's a roller coaster ride. And if you don't have that support system or that community to kind of say, today's a really crappy day, or I want to celebrate this today, and you can have that conversation with people who understand what you're talking about. So I love my husband dearly, but sometimes when it comes to the business pieces of being an entrepreneur, or even the mindset of being an entrepreneur, I've had to create my own groups and my own connections. So I have a group of women that we actually connect with on a weekly basis, and we're all a part of a different membership group, but we meet every single week, and we are spiritually minded coaches, entrepreneurs, teachers, and we just connect. And it's like it breathes life into me every week because I'm able to say, I'm not alone on this journey. When I need support, I know where to get it. And when somebody else needs support, I'm able to be there to help them. So definitely surrounding yourself with like-minded people who are on a similar path that you're on, that you can have those conversations with. Otherwise, you're going to feel alone in the world. So I think that's the biggest thing that really keeps me going. And then connecting with my vision. I'm here for a purpose. I have a mission. My business isn't just to make money. And really connecting with the mission and my why behind why I do what I do and why I share what I share, because I share what's changed my life. And I know that I'm on a mission to share that with other people to help them do the same in their lives. And just reminding myself of that, and also to step away from comparing myself to other people and letting other people be on their journey and allowing me to be on my journey, and knowing when I need to stay in my lane. And when looking at other people no longer inspires me, but makes me feel bad about myself, is when I need to step off of social media and take a break. So like-minded people, knowing when I'm being inspired or when I'm comparing too much, and then also connecting with my mission and my why. Those are the pieces that when I get disconnected, I reach back out to bring me back on board.
That's great. I appreciate that. That was really great. I totally agree with the community, having those people to surround yourself with those people that are going to help you. So if you ever take any men in that group, let me know. I'm always trying to build my network and find other resources. There's so much I'm trying to do right now with connecting with other people. But yeah, that's awesome to keep you going and that. And I agree with you. You meet somebody that been working their whole lot. I came from a job for 20 years, and what I'm doing is completely new. Now, my dad had a business of his own prior, and I never would have thought of it, but it is something that it's hard to connect with somebody when they are doing a 9 to 5, and there's nothing wrong with a 9 to 5. It's just, that's where they are, and they have a different mindset. So yeah, definitely surrounding yourself with others is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I could see that you are this kind of like me, you're a believer in goals and performing each day towards to achieving those goals. So how do you try to get the most important tasks done for the day? What do you do?
So I actually have a daily planner that I created. And in that planner, I purposely have certain things written down in there. So I do gratitude. I do a previous day check-in. I do all of these things every single day. It takes less than 10 minutes. But a part of that is I have a task list, and then I have priority tasks. So there's actually two pieces there. So the task list, can have up to, 10, 15 things, whatever I feel needs to be done that day. And that's everything from business to I need to put the kids' laundry away. And then I take my priority tasks and I list 1 or 2, very rarely 3, but it's usually 1 or 2 things. And I say, if I get nothing else done today, these are the top 2 things. And no matter what, as long as and even if I don't get to those things, depending on how the day goes, I do the best that I can. But it gives me that moment of, when you sit down and you look at a task list and you're like, oh God, you don't even know where to start. Knowing what my priorities are allows me to look at it. Even though I said it before, of like, I have to get this done. When you have that like free hour and you're like, what should I do? And it's like, no, this is the top thing I said I was going to do. It gives me a place to go so that I don't get into analysis paralysis where I'm over analyzing and then I end up doing nothing. Mm-hmm. So 1, 2, possibly 3 things. And then that's that. Anything else beyond that is like icing on the cake, depending on the day. And what I'll also do is in the planner, I have it written out in hourly increments. So I have 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. and every hour has a box. And I do my best to fill in and say, I fill in all the appointments, school pickup, school drop off. And then if I say, oh, I've got a 2-hour block here. Okay, that's where I'll put X, Y, and Z. And then if I get to it at that time, that's great, but I allow it to kind of flow. That's how my brain works. But those are the pieces between the calendar, the task, and priority tasks. Those are the 3 pieces that help me to really stay on track and know what's going on. And I didn't start using a planner until a little over a year ago, that when we went into the pandemic, and I created one on my own and just created it and changed it because of how life was going when everything shut down in 2020. And I had to manage the kids' schedule and my schedule and my husband's schedule and tasks needed to get done. It forced me in a really beautiful way to get really clear on what's most important and what needs to get done. So that's how I stay on track as much as possible.
That's great. Yeah. And I'll agree with you with the priorities and stuff. I've been through a lot of stuff recently trying to figure it all out, just like you're doing, and try to plan out your day and, the priorities, the tasks. Like you said, that stuff comes later after you get everything else done,
Yep.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm not one of those guys to raise my hand and go jump and do the dishes right away over something else anyways. But, so I'm gonna throw up your website here if you want to share some information about like what people might find on there, and what you have to offer.
Absolutely. So yes, so you can contact me, NikkiGingrich.com. Thank God my name was available a couple years ago when I started this. It's not like a common name, so I did pretty good. What you'll find on there is information about how to work with me, information about my life. You'll see a beautiful picture of my little family. My story, you'll get a little bit more of my background story, links to my podcast, and you can connect with me via email, which is a great way to connect with me. You can also connect with me on Instagram, Nikki Gingrich. Super simple, super lucky my name was available. So you can connect with me on Instagram. That's where I spend most of my time when it comes to social media. I love chatting with people in the DMs on Instagram and via email as well. And another great place you can find me if somebody is interested in meditation or diving deeper, I am a meditation teacher on the Insight Timer app. So if you do not have the Insight Timer app, it is a free app. You can upgrade to the paid membership, but you don't have to. There are thousands upon thousands of meditations on this app, which can be overwhelming. But at the same time, I have found it to be the most versatile app when it comes to meditation. You get different teachers, different styles. You can search by time, you can search all sorts of things. So I have meditations that are up on there. And then I do about twice a month is kind of what I'm looking at right now. I teach live classes on Saturday morning. So I taught a class on manifestation, recently taught one on vision boarding, and we'll be teaching one actually on limiting beliefs coming up. That was the most requested one. So that's a really great place as far as like diving deeper into the meditation piece, that I've been spending a lot of time on that app as well, just connecting with people and sharing what I have to share. But yeah, I work with people one-on-one in coaching. I typically only take 2 to 3 clients a month just because of timing. But it is super intense one-on-one. So weekly calls and check-ins in the middle of the week and learning to take action. And I provide you with all of the tools that I have to help you work through anything. So meditation, as soon as I'm certified in self-hypnosis and EFT, those will be tools that I'll be able to offer to any clients as well as you work with me. And I also do one-off calls. So if you're looking for clarity calls on creating your desires or creating a work-life balance, I do one-off, one-on-one coaching calls to dive deep into really helping you. I ask you the questions so that you can get the clarity that you need in order to take the next steps. So that was a very long information. So hopefully
That's quite all right.
There's a lot going on. So
they can rewind this and listen to it again or watch it, whatever you want to do. I do have, you have a podcast as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that is Stepping Up for the Working Mom.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And I mean, you just want to share a little bit about that? I can imagine what it might be, but go ahead.
Yeah. So it's a mix of, you'll get solo episodes from me and I do a lot of interviews. I love talking with people. So I do a lot of interviews. I currently took a pause for the month of February. So actually, depending on when this goes up, or for those of you who are watching live, March, I'm going to have 4 brand new amazing interviews with entrepreneurial moms they talk about their businesses and also just being a mom in general and life as a mom. So it'll be super relevant for the podcast. So that's what you'll find. That's what you'll find there. And you can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Awesome. Thank you. And then one more last thing. You got your planner, right?
Yes.
So you just, is there anything else you want to touch on that? I know you shared a few details.
No, it's a 90-day planner and you will get in it monthly. You'll get 3 months, monthly goals, weekly goals, and then the daily planning sheet. So it is 90 days of daily planning and it's up on Amazon. So you can just go the Stepping Up Planner and my name and it'll show up. It's the only one there. It's got a pink cover right now. It's actually in the works to be revamped. So hopefully in another month or 2, I'll have a revamped version. I'm actually doing some prototyping for myself. I'm practicing with myself on it and seeing if I want to make any changes. But it's up there for anybody who wants it. It is geared more towards women. Men can certainly use it. You would just block off the one that says monthly cycle and you don't have to use that piece, but everything else is super relevant to anybody who wants to use it. So, yeah.
Okay, great. And I'll include, I'll include that information in the notes as well.
Yeah.
So Nikki, I appreciate you coming on and sharing all the information you had to provide for us. It was really great to get to know you a little bit better. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me here, John. I appreciate it so much. Anytime I get to share my journey, my story, and connect with other amazing entrepreneurs, always fills my cup. So thank you.
There you go. You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too.